Well, good morning, everyone. Once again, welcome to another live this morning. Hope you're having a good start to your day, and we appreciate everyone coming on as you get your notifications. And don't be shy. Say hello, and we'll try and get right back to you by saying hello. And we appreciate. And guess who's number one today? Brahim. Sonia, good morning. Laurie, Ventura, California. Madeleine from Kippawa, Quebec. Brahim is from Portland, Oregon. There's our friend Kevin from Oshawa. Janice from Brampton. Fran from Orangeville, our faithful. Rosalinda from the Kidneys of Canada. Niagara Falls. Mary, Sandy. Good morning. Nativity. And Donna, how are you? And if anyone's new this morning, would you just let me know that? Nellie, how are you? Lori from Niagara Falls. Rita, good morning. And Wendy from Markham, good morning. And Sandy, how are you? Andrea from Nouveau Brunswick. Nick from our staff. Julie, how are you? Rhonda, oh, I want to sing Rhonda. Dawn from Dayton. Marilyn, how are you? From Edmonton. Yolande, bonjour. Georgie, Halifax. Nova Scotia. Carrie, Nebraska. Diane from Thunder Bay. And Deneen, LaSalle. Lenora, good morning. Thank you. Lenora says she loves our new book. Laura, how are you? Tina and Julie. Superstars gather here. Laurie and Ryan. Good morning. Barbara and Cheryl, West Virginia. Dale, how is you? Annette and Anne, Moncton, New Brunswick. Shirley. And from Newfoundland, Teresa, good morning. Hazel, St. John's, Newfoundland. Kajichu, how are you? Margie, Kansas. And Rose, Peterborough. And I missed that first name, went past me. Jody, good morning. And Norma, Texas. Hot, apparently, isn't it? Susan, Nova Scotia. Janet, Thunder Bay. John, good morning. Jackie, Belle-Île. And Annette, thank you for loving our book. We appreciate it. Ron, traveling again. Jeanette from Kapuskasing. And Luella, West Tennessee. Bev, good morning from Newfoundland. Veronica, good morning. Couple more. Star, how are you? From Richmond. Sorona, Melbourne, Australia. I didn't see that name. Barbara. Jerry, Nouveau Brunswick, good morning. Bruno. Bruno from North Bay, how are you? Mary. From the Cape. Leela, good morning to you. And Cecilia, good morning. Kevin said he's listening outside in the yard. Darlene, we appreciate you guys. Karen and Faye. And one more. Bonnie, good morning to you. Now, if anyone was new, you can flag me afterwards. I want to say hello to our new folks because I know we get new ones every day. But boy, we appreciate our audience so much. Okay. I want to go over an email that we wrote, I think a week ago or so. It's really, I think, a really significant email because we deal with this every day. I still deal with it. People are really get messed up with their hormones and they can't, okay, here was the headline for that email. Okay, so if you don't get our emails, make sure you sign up. for our emails. They come out usually about twice a week, okay? And we go into a lot of details on the emails. We give you a lot of information. And this one I thought I would unpack for you this morning, okay? And why doctors struggle to fix hormones. That was the headline. I don't know if you remember it or not. And we went into a lot of detail about why doctors have real struggle to fix hormones. They're not good at it. And look, we appreciate our physicians. We do, okay? And they got a lot on their plate, but they really need, I hate to say it, a lesson in hormones. Why, first of all, why are so many people, especially women, not that it can't happen to men, but especially women, how come their hormones get so messed up? But what we did on that email is that we talked about the hierarchy of hormones. If you don't get that, you're in trouble. Now, I'm going to do a little drawing for you because I used to do this in my office. Now, many of you have seen this drawing, not because you necessarily came to my office, but I've done it before on podcasts. Now, obviously, people listening to the podcast can't see it, but it's easy to imagine it in your minds because I try and make things simple. So I am going to do a drawing, okay? And I used to do this to my patients all the time in the office. I used to draw a triangle or a pyramid, okay? And I flunked art, okay? So just bear with me. And then I used to put circles, okay? And like this. And wait a minute, you'll see it at the top. Okay? Now, you get that? You see that? Okay? And let me point out, okay? So, folks, if you're listening to this on a podcast, imagine this, okay? I got a pyramid here. At the top, you have your thyroid. In the middle, you have your pancreas secreting insulin. On the sides, you have adrenals secreting cortisol. And at the bottom of the triangle or pyramid, you have your ovaries, okay? And if you want, you can put in the middle here another circle for guys, and that is your testosterone, okay? But mainly, the reason that doctors have so much trouble fixing hormones is that they don't get the pyramid. They don't see everything is connected. It's not, you can't separate these hormones. But the first thing you have to remember, okay? The first thing you have to remember, because if you just test the thyroid, okay? See at the top here, if you only test the thyroid, you're going to get duped. Because the thyroid, as we teach here, is a very finicky organ to start off with, very tiny. It produces very little thyroid hormone in a year, and it sure doesn't take a lot to throw the thyroid off. And the reason is because the thyroid is a puppet, and it has a lot of strings attached. And we're going to talk about that. What are the strings that attach to the thyroid that make it so easy to misdiagnose? And if you rely on blood work, you're going to miss out. And so, folks, when you send me blood work, okay, do I want to look at your TSH? Yep. Do I want to look at your T3 and T4 if you have it done? Yep, I want to look at it. But you must understand. You must understand. I don't focus on that. Doctors focus on it. Endocrinologists focus on it. And I think they make a big mistake doing that. Because the thyroid is a puppet. Okay? Why do doctors have so much trouble fixing hormones? Hormones. Okay? Now, let me tell you this. Let me tell you this. And this is in that email, so if you keep your emails, you can go and review this. But I thought I would unpack it and break it down. Okay. Now let's look at a couple of things that are significant. Okay? I found this out after years of experience. Listening. Testing. Thousands and thousands of women. Looking at the complete picture. Looking at a woman, especially, holistically. What do I mean by that? Well, you have to look at all the parts of hormones. All of it. Okay? So, getting back to the pyramid, I want to show you two things, two hormones that are significant. They're the hierarchy of hormones. Okay? It's not your thyroid. Your thyroid is a puppet. Let me tell you where you have to start with hormones. Okay? Here's where you have to start. You have to start with the two main hormones. If either one of these are out of balance, you're in deep doo-doo hormonally. One, of course, where do I start? Where did we start at the Martin Clinic all the time? The pancreas, insulin, food. If your insulin is off, if you have insulin resistance, it will mess up your hormones. That is why, one of the reasons, there are many, it's one of the reasons that we develop the reset and why so many people feel better on the reset. One of the reasons is you're lowering insulin resistance, right? When you lower insulin resistance, you're helping your hormones. You're lowering inflammation. Okay? So, you start in the kitchen. And there's other reasons. Because when you lower your insulin resistance, you empty your liver. Why is the liver significant? I mean, doctors don't even think about this. They don't think about it for 5 seconds. They don't see the relationship. But where is T4 converted to T3 for your thyroid? Where is T4 mainly converted to T3? Remember, your thyroid produces, with the hypothalamus and your thyroid produces 5 different hormones. Okay? But the one that it needs for it to function properly, it produces mainly T4, but it needs T3 to function properly. Okay? And I don't want to get into the weeds too much, but just understand that. But where is T4 converted to T3? Mostly, 80% of it, in the liver. So when you fix your insulin, you're emptying your liver. Why are you doing that? Because when you lay off the carbs, When you lay off high fructose corn syrup that takes a beeline for your liver, you're emptying your liver. Guess what? Your thyroid will respond to that, because now you're going to be able to convert T4 to T3. Guys, I'm telling you, I haven't even met one endocrinologist that ever thought that food, I mean, other than iodine, I get it. They understand the importance of iodine, but they don't think of T4 to T3. It's almost like it's something they didn't learn in medical school. They learned that, but they forget it. And that's why they have trouble fixing it. Okay? So that's one. Insulin is a big part of the hierarchy, and insulin, by and large, is a food hormone. Okay? You guys know that. If you're new today, you're hearing it, and maybe for the first time for you. Insulin. It's a huge problem today, not only because it's associated with chronic diseases like diabetes and like cancer and like cardiovascular disease and Alzheimer's and dementia and autoimmune, yep, all of the above, but also because it can mess up your hormones. And if you don't fix insulin, if you don't lower your insulin response, there's a real good stinking chance that you will not fix hormones. And you won't hear that almost anywhere else, guys. Okay? Insulin. Now, let's get back to the graph. Oh, I'm so terrible at... I used to have these, by the way, in an official drawing. I had posters in my office made. Okay? I should look and see. I think I have some. I might have some around here. I never even looked. Okay? What did I do with those posters I had made with the pyramid? Okay, now. Okay, so we took care of the one in the middle. Insulin, we talked about it. Start with food, folks. Start with food. You don't feel well. You're losing your hair. You're losing your eyebrows. You're tired all the time. You're gaining weight. You got all the symptoms of a sluggish thyroid. Yeah. And no one seems to be listening to you. And you know how many thousands of times I heard that? Okay, now, I am going to bring you to the sides, and I'm pointing my pen at both sides here, halfway down the pyramid. These are called your adrenals, on top of kidneys. They secrete that little, they're only little chestnut size, by the way. They're the size of a chestnut. And they're really important. And you can't fix hormones unless you understand that cortisol that comes from your adrenals can mess you up big time. It's part of the hierarchy. I wrote a book years ago. Tony Jr. and I talked about it yesterday. I said, you know what, son? I think it's time to rewrite that book. Because we wrote it years ago. Let's put all the new research in that. We talked about that yesterday. Okay? We wrote a book years ago. Serial Killers. 2 hormones that want you dead. Okay? 2 hormones that want you dead. You know when that came out? In 2011. You know why I know that? Because we brought it out on the 100th anniversary of the Martin Clinic. That book was dedicated to the 100th anniversary of the Martin Clinic. 2 hormones that want you dead. Insulin and what? Cortisol. And even back in 2011, I talked about the significance of insulin and high circulating insulin and insulin resistance and how it created havoc in your body. 2011. And then I talked about cortisol. They don't even think of it. They don't even bring it in. Most doctors, you know, in the email, we talked about wearing a tie for men. For a lot of men, it's like that, right? You know, it's bothersome, but it's not, you know, it's not the end of the world, okay? It's a good illustration because a lot of men don't like wearing a tie. And especially in this day and age, you know, my dad, I never saw my dad when I was a kid. I mean that. Like he went to work every day with a tie on. It was just, men wore ties in the 1950s. He wore a tie every day. I can't remember seeing my dad without a shirt and tie on. And his hat. He wore a hat all the time. You know, a dress hat. Not a baseball hat like I wear all the time. He had a dress hat. That's just the way it was. Okay, but now men, okay, not all men, but some of us, a tie, man, you know, it's sort of uncomfortable, but that's the way doctors think of stress. Stress, it's normal. It's part of life. But if stress, if your adrenal glands are secreting cortisol and you don't turn the tap off of stress, you don't sleep properly, your cortisol goes up. Your cortisol goes up, you don't sleep properly. But it's not just sleep. In my book, Sun, Steak, and Steel, okay, I talked about the significance of sleep and the significance of cortisol. Cortisol, over a period of time, will mess you up big time. Okay? I mean, it does a lot of things. Cortisol, think about it. Doc, I'm not stressed. And then I would measure them, and I go, yeah, you are. Your cortisol's through the roof. And they didn't even know it. Because that's all, they're so used to it. That their body was producing cortisol, but they never thought about it so much. And the problem with cortisol, okay, I'll give you a rundown quickly. The problem with cortisol, when your cortisol is elevated for a long period of time, forget just the sleep and all that, it messes up almost everything in the pyramid, okay, including insulin. What do you mean? Well, they work together. They're serial killers. And it's not a serial killer as with a C. It's with an S. Because cortisol, stress, elevates your blood sugar. It's getting you ready for the fight and flight. instead of the rest and digest. Okay? You got two modes, rest and digest, and fight and flight. The problem is today. And guys, I used to test this. I used to test cortisol in the office. The vast majority of people, especially women, their cortisol was messing them up. It creates an increase in blood sugar. What goes up must come down. You get yo-yo in the blood sugar. What comes up must come down. So if your blood sugar is going up because you're stressed, you're getting ready for fight or flight, your insulin is taking that elevated blood sugar and lowering it, sometimes way too fast. That gives you hypoglycemia. A lot of people don't realize they go up, they go down. Blood sugars, they're exhausted, they don't feel good, they're tired. Your body wasn't made to be under stress. Your body was made for stress, but not continued stress. Got it? And what does that got? Okay, so I showed you the connection to the pancreas, the insulin. But do you know what happens? When cortisol is high, this is first day, maybe not, first month of physiology. Doctors forget. Cortisol is a hormone. But when it's high, it robs progesterone, pro-baby hormone, progesterone. So what happens? Stress, insulin resistance, even more stress, fluctuations of blood sugar, up and down, yo-yo, insulin secreted, fat is, you can't lose weight, but cortisol robs progesterone. Well, what's that mean, Doc? What's that mean? Well, when you rob progesterone, now I'm going to show you the other circles at the bottom of the pyramid. See these little babies right here? Okay, I'm showing the bottom circles of the pyramid. When adrenals, the cortisol, is too high, fight or flight, it robs progesterone. Now you have a hormonal imbalance between estrogen and progesterone. And you get what we call estrogen dominance. And when you're estrogen dominant, a lot of bad things happen. One, you have trouble converting T4 to T3, estrogen dominance. You can get PCOS, polycystic ovarian disorder, insulin and estrogen dominance. You get bad skin, you get acne, you get bad periods. Even in postmenopausal women, you get hot flashes, you get, because you don't, guys, the key there is progesterone. Women don't have enough progesterone anymore. They're estrogen. Oh, Dr. Martin, I'm in menopause. My doctor says I need estrogen. I said, you don't need estrogen. Estrogen is coming at you at 100 miles an hour from every side. Every plastic, every air freshener, every hand sanitizer, every house cleaner, just about everything you can think of, from plastics in a bottle to you name it, estrogen. It looks like estrogen to your body. You're not low in estrogen. You're lower than you used to be. But you have an imbalance. It's imbalance. You know when you do well? When you're balanced. That messes up your thyroid. You see why doctors have so much trouble fixing hormones? They don't get it. They don't get it. They don't think holistically. You have to when it comes to hormones. You have to. And you know, it's if you don't put this together, you're going to have thousands of women falling through the cracks. And Tony Jr. and I, we named it the metabolic storm. They get into the storm, and some of them are in category 5. Like, you know what a category 5 storm is? Okay? It's not good. And I saw thousands of women in the category 5. Everything they owned was messed up. Every hormone they owned was messed up. And they're frustrated beyond belief. But, I didn't blame the poor women. And I didn't even blame the doctors to some extent, because they were just ignorant of it. They're taught systematically. They spend a day, on adrenals. And, I used to have doctors tell me, even endocrinologists, well, you don't have Addison's disease. If you don't have Addison's or Cushing's, why would I test your adrenals? I used to get migraines when I heard that. I said, well, look, I'm not talking about pathology. I'm talking about physiology, and I'm talking about imbalances. And you got to expand your thinking. You have to. Because you won't fix it. You're not going to fix things. And ladies, I'm telling you, and men, men too, because men, their testosterone, I've never seen anything like it. In the last 20, 30 years, testosterone rates have sunk like the Titanic for men. Men are so full of estrogen, it's crazy. And that's not meant to be. Estrogen is a woman's hormone, for heaven's sakes. But I used to get, I don't want to use the word frustrated, but women were frustrated. I had to teach them. I took up my chart and I taught. Because I figured, look, if you don't understand this, and I'm not expecting a lay person to be a doctor, okay? I don't want you to know everything. You don't have to. But if you can understand that pyramid, and you can understand what you can do about it, you'll go a long way to not be so frustrated. And guys, like I said, the two key, the top ones, the ones that really manage everything in that pyramid, including the thyroid, is insulin food and cortisol stress. So it's not, like I said, doctors stress, you know what, everybody's stressed. Yeah, yes, a lot of people are stressed today. But prolonged stress is deadly for hormones because it really messes up. It really messes up the body. So, guys, I'm telling you, that hierarchy, and who knows if I get to teach this all for how long, but you know what, guys, all I'm saying is, and there's a lot of repetition for folks, but this is something that is understandable. And you don't have to be a physician to understand it. Okay? Why do doctors have so much trouble fixing hormones? It's almost like they're looking for love in all the wrong places, and you can't isolate. If you only isolate thyroid, I'm a thyroid doctor. You're going to be in trouble if you're a thyroid doctor only, and you don't figure out all the strings attached to that thyroid. And you get a gynecologist. Okay? God love them. But oftentimes, they're not thinking of estrogen dominance. They're not thinking of those things. And how often do gynecologists actually give estrogen? I don't like estrogen as a hormone. Not to give. I don't like it. It's a growth hormone. Estrogen's a growth hormone. So is insulin. And cortisol is a hormone that pours gasoline on that fire. Okay, guys, what's Friday? Question and answer Friday. What time is it? Time to get a book. I push that book, don't I? I'm a marketer. I mean it. It's a great book. You guys have said it, and you guys have made it so successful. Okay? We love you dearly. We'll talk to you soon.